All right, here we go again. I really want to apologize for the yellowish lighting. Not that you really need to see the bulbs, but I was an asshole and bought these vintage bulbs or whatever. They make everything look a little extra yellow here. So I will be turning some other lights on. So hopefully the white balance will even out. But push comes to shove, we are cooking again. I've got some purple Brussels sprouts here, some sweet Italian pork sausage, fontina, broccolini, and we are going to assemble a two-part meal today. Okay, so here I've prepped the potatoes and the Brussels sprouts. I'm not sure if I initially was going to use potatoes in this, but I don't know. Between the last video and now, I've changed my mind. These, as you can see, are not exactly, other than the Brussels sprouts are halved, but the potatoes I've just kind of cut in like rustic shapes, not really paying attention to really precise knife work or anything, just trying to get about the same size chunks out. And purple Brussels sprouts are really cool. They're really great if you can find them. They usually sell them at Trader Joe's on occasion. They're purple because of the anthocyanins that are in them, and those are really potent antioxidants that are pretty healthy for you. So the broccolini I've kind of chopped into 1.5 to 2 inch pieces, kind of not really on a bias. Here we go, kind of not really on a bias. And you are going to use the stems and the actual ends of these because broccolini, or baby broccoli, the stems aren't as woody and tough as adult or full-grown broccoli, I guess. They are a lot snappier and more crisp, kind of like a green bean and an asparagus had a baby. Okay, now to roast these veggies, I'm not going to use olive oil. I'm going to use, this is sunflower oil. Olive oil has a very high smoke point, which means that the oil itself actually burns at a very low temperature in comparison with other oils. Oils like coconut and other like non-flavorful, essentially, oils, neutral oils, like sunflower oil, have a much, much higher smoke point, so the oil itself won't burn and leave kind of this acrid taste behind. So I've seasoned these with some salt, oregano, black pepper, white pepper, just for kicks, and dried thyme. And I toss them together, but I don't like to toss like very vigorously with my hands. I just kind of like to throw everything together because I feel like a lot of the seasoning ends up on your hands and you just wash it down the drain, which is not productive at all. So I'm going to just shake these out in the pan to spread them out a little bit and toss them into a 400-degree oven for approximately 20 minutes until they're all roasted all the way through. So I got a pot of water, not boiling, obviously, it's not boiling. It's going to boil for the pasta. And the most important thing about this is to make sure that you salt this water enough. You want the water to taste like the sea. I'm using iodized Morton salt. Ideally, you would use kosher salt because it's the least salty of all salts. But yeah, you want this to taste like the sea so that the pasta itself is actually seasoned. When something boils, it's absorbing that water from the outside. So if you season the water with salt, it'll absorb some of that seasoning, and the pasta itself will taste good, regardless of whether your sauce is going to taste good or not. And the sauce is going to be great. I'm heating up this cast iron skillet as well at the same time. So yeah, let's keep this moving. Okay, the sausages are out of their casing. I'm going to put them into the oil and brown them up. That's it. That's all this story has. So now that the sausage is in the pan, we are just going to let it sit here for like 3-4 minutes until it forms a really nice brown crust on the bottom. The more you move sausage and stuff around, the less it's going to fully brown, and the more it's just going to kind of steam while it cooks. We also want the fat to render off a little bit into the olive oil so we get this nice, delicious fat. Because remember, fat is flavor, and it's going to permeate through the rest of the dish and help us make our sauce. So I've added the pasta. I'm using dried pasta from the store because I don't have the time to be making fresh pasta, let alone in like a rigatoni shape. But for fresh pasta, you always want to cook the pasta, especially because we're going to bake this dish, about 2-ish minutes under the package directions. That way the pasta stays al dente and doesn't kind of get overly mushy. So now that this is pretty good and golden brown, I'm going to add about 6 cloves of garlic, a good amount of sage, and some red chili flakes. You're gonna have to deal with me stuttering because I'm not doing that again. Now we're gonna drop the heat so we don't burn the garlic, because burnt garlic tastes awful, as any good Italian will tell you. I'm not Italian, but take my word for it. And you also want to make sure that this garlic and sage, chili flake, is really permeating the oil, because remember, like I keep saying, fat is flavor, and it's going to permeate through the whole dish if it can get into that fat, into that oil, and really into any fat that's going to be in the dish, and it's all going to be in this pan. In a few minutes, we are going to put the baby broccoli or broccolini into this boiling water, which is also salted, remember, to taste like the sea, so that this gets seasoned, this gets cooked, while this finishes cooking. It's all going to happen at once. Now that our garlic's good and golden, we are going to add in about 2 cups of half and half. And this is going to be the beginnings of our sauce. So now that the veg is out of the oven, I've dropped the heat to about 350. That salad is going to assemble pretty quickly now that we've got the veggies roasted. So, yeah. I don't know where I was going with the rest of this. This is very... Not the smoothest one of these that I've filmed. So now the sauce is simmering. We are going to let it simmer for another minute and start to add the cheese in. You want to do this gradually so the cheese doesn't clump up on the bottom of the skillet. That's the last thing you want. The cheese is really going to help to marry this half and half fat with the fat from the sausage. Okay, so the sauce and the pasta and the broccolini and the sausage and everything else that were in the 2 pans are now combined into this cast iron. I've sprinkled some cheese over the top of it. Just going to tuck a few sage leaves in here, and it's ready to go in the oven. So I've got a bed of arugula here that we're going to make the salad with, but I've also got some parsley. Herbs, I think, are a really great addition to a salad because they really give a lot more verdant and fresh flavors, more so than just lettuce or spinach or kale or any other leafy green can. A few rounds of olive oil, some black pepper. This is balsamic vinegar from Italy. Obviously, you don't have to get yours from Italy. I've just hoarded mine from all my vacations. So now that we've kind of dressed the greens, I'm going to go in and massage them. You really don't have to do that for arugula, but I want to. It's something that you should do for kale. It makes it a little bit easier and a little less, like, incredibly leafy than kale normally is. You can kind of see it already kind of wilting down a little bit. So that's pretty much it for... What? I have been trying to do this all day.
You're gonna have to keep that in there just for her. I hope she uses it.
And he has been interrupting me at every go. Anyways, the salad is done. We're just waiting another 10 minutes for the pasta, and then I'll be able to show you guys the finished meal, I guess. All right, y'all, I baked this for about 25 minutes and then broiled it for about 3 to 4. And now we have these crispy sage leaves, the camera's steaming up, and the cheese that we put on top is nice and bubbly and golden brown. So there you have it. A quick, relatively quick sage pasta bake and a roasted vegetable salad. Easy.